Hello, good evening and welcome. So the purpose of this video is to show you how to make a roux sauce. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because over the years, so many people have said to me, "Oh, I don't know how to make a white sauce. I can't make a cheese sauce. I just get it from a packet." Well, let me tell you now, those packet cheese sauces, blech, they're horrible. They taste nothing like a good cheese sauce. And I should know I've made hundreds over the years. Also, people say, "Oh, I got it in a jar." That's fine. I think some of the jarred sauces are quite good. But again, it's going to have extra salt, sugar, preservatives, things that really you don't want in your diet. So I'm going to show you how to make a basic roux sauce. Now, it is a basic recipe that everybody should learn because a roux sauce can be used as the basis for many different recipes. For example, macaroni cheese, cauliflower cheese, lasagna, vegetable bakes, moussaka. All of those recipes use a basic white sauce. Fish pie is another example. It can be used to make a parsley sauce that, believe you me, is great over fish fingers if you want to jazz up a fish finger meal. And also it's the basis for gravy. It's maybe a slightly different way of cooking. You might have seen your mom use the roasting tin and put flour in and then cook it over the hob and then add the water from the potatoes. That's how a basic gravy is made, and they're usually the best. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at the ingredients of a white sauce. So, it's always three basic ingredients. Your fat, and I'm using olive oil. You can use rapeseed oil, you can use coconut oil, lard, butter, margarine, anything, really, whatever you've got. I'm using plain flour for this, but in reality, to be honest, you can use most flours other than corn flour. I wouldn't use corn flour because that's used to thicken in a different way. Plain flour, self-raising flour. I've even used bread flour, to be honest, when I've not had any other kind of flour. And it was fine. It just maybe needs a little more cooking to cook out the flour, but I'll show you that in a bit. And then your liquid. I'm using soya milk because this is Alpro soya. Light, excellent for cooking with. And the amounts I'm going to use approximately half a pint of milk. And if you want, again, if you're cutting down on calories or you don't like the taste of milk, you can do half milk, half water. Works just as well. Not as rich, but it works just as well. And the ingredient measurements for the fat and the flour are approximately a tablespoon of each. Now, if you were making a huge lasagna, for example, you could double all of those measurements to make a larger batch. Of course, you're going to need a saucepan, and not too big. You don't really want a massive surface area on the bottom there. It's got to be manageable. And the most essential ingredient of all, this little whisk. Now, we bought these from Lakeland, and I think they were marketed by Delia Smith. And they're brilliant. They're brilliant. Excellent for sauces. I wouldn't be without these. I've got 2 of these, and I've given away a few over the years as well. Before we continue, I just want to talk very quickly about the principle, what we're actually going to be doing. We're going to be heating up the oil, we're going to be cooking the flour in the oil until it goes a bit bubbly, and then we're going to be adding the milk. Now, there are 2 schools of thought. Some people always heat the milk up first. I always use cold, but there is technique involved, and I'll show you. And the whole process is to emulsify all of those ingredients together to make a smooth, creamy, glossy and lump-free sauce. That's my goal. I do hope I manage to achieve that goal and not make a lumpy sauce. We're going to change the camera angle and show you how it's done. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a tablespoon of olive oil. That's it. And we're going to turn the heat on, not too high, low to medium heat. You never fry olive oil. Okay, so we're just going to heat that gently. And you can usually tell that it's getting warm because it starts to go more liquid. So we're just going to wait for that to heat up. Gentle heat should only take a few minutes to get to the required temperature. Yep, that's starting to heat up. You can see it's becoming more liquid. We're going to put a tablespoon of flour into this, like so. I don't know whether you can see, but that's starting to fizz. So we're going to stir the flour in. It's fizzing. Take it off the heat a little bit. Turn the heat down if it's too much. Keep on stirring until it goes into a nice creamy consistency and it's bubbling. That's what we want, and we're going to do that for approximately 2 minutes. Keep on stirring. We don't want any lumps. That's looking good. Another minute or so. Keep it moving. You don't want it to burn. Bear in mind that this is a white roux that we're doing. If you were going to do what's called a brown roux, you would let that cook for longer and it would slowly turn a golden brown. We don't want that. We want it to stay pale, a pale creamy colour. You can see it's going frothy. That's the starch granules bursting. And this is of course the thickening agent for the sauce. That's looking good. Now, what I sometimes do at this stage is turn the heat off completely. And we're going to add our milk. Now it may sizzle a little bit when we add the milk. You're going to add it gradually and you're going to continue to stir as you add the milk. Keep on stirring, keep on adding the milk. Keep on stirring. Don't worry if it seizes up. That's completely normal. You can see it's gone really horrible and lumpy, so keep on whisking. Just make sure you get all those lumps, and you're aiming for a creamy consistency. Yeah? Keep on whisking. It's going to be fine. It's all coming together. And the aim is to emulsify all of the ingredients. And you can see that's gone into a thick, creamy paste. We're going to add some more water. Blend that in. That's lovely. Keep on stirring. Nice and smooth. Add more milk. That's good. Blend that milk in. That's looking lovely. Remember to get into all the edges of the pan. Okay, now what you can do, we've only got a bit of milk left. So now what you can do is turn the heat back on, just low to begin with, and add the rest of the milk. done. Blend that milk in. So we've got a sort of cream, a consistency a bit like single cream. So the action of the heat now is going to start to thicken this. So slowly raise the heat, and we're going to bring it slowly to the boil while we're stirring all the time. And this will slowly start to thicken. And you can see it's very glossy. There's a nice shine on there. That's what we're aiming for. There are no lumps. And you can see how quick this is. It's not hard. It's just a little hard in terms of the stirring and the whisking, but that's, you know, that's cookery. Cookery isn't always easy. Okay, that's looking good. I can feel as I'm stirring that it's starting to thicken. We can leave it for a moment, just see how it's doing, see if it's starting to boil. Yeah, it's starting to, don't know whether you can see, but it's starting to come to the boil. Keep on stirring. Oh, I can feel it starting to thicken now. That's good. Yeah, it's really thickening up. That's the consistency that we're looking for. Once it's come to the boil, I'm not sure you can see that, it's bubbling away there. Once it's come to the boil, we need to turn it down and we need to simmer that for approximately 5 minutes. Just let it on a very, very slow simmer. It's just bubbling away. And make sure you give it a stir whilst it's doing that. So we've achieved our objective. A smooth, creamy sauce with no lumps and a good, glossy finish. That's looking good. So within 5 minutes that will be ready to then add your flavourings. There we go. A smooth roux sauce. Okay, so that's simmering at the moment and will come to its full thickness as it simmers. So for a cheese sauce, I would add to that probably, I would say, probably a third of that for a good rich cheesy sauce. And I don't grate it, I cube it because it melts so much more easily. One thing you've got to bear in mind is to not overcook once the cheese has gone in because it can split sometimes. So you take it off the heat to melt the cheese through. I would also put some seasoning in there, probably some salt and pepper or some bouillon powder. I'll show you. This bouillon powder is really good. It's Swiss vegetable, marigold, Swiss vegetable, vegan bouillon powder, instant stock. It's reduced salt, this one. You could put a teaspoon of that in and it will really pep it up and give it a lovely flavour. So you add that, cheese, seasoning, and a teaspoon of the magic ingredient English mustard, because that will bring out the flavour of the cheese and just make it so tasty. There's also another product, if you don't like cheese, there's also another product you can use, and this is by Marigold as well, and it's called Engevita, I think you pronounce it like that, and it's yeast flakes. I don't know whether you've seen these, but I don't know if you can see those, but they're yeast flakes, and you can add those to a sauce like that for a completely dairy-free cheese sauce. Great idea. Couple of other things before I finish. If you wanted to make that into a proper bechamel sauce, what Delia Smith recommends you do is you steep your liquid, your milk, with an onion studded in cloves, about 10 cloves, some black peppercorns and some bay leaves, and you steep the milk for about an hour a warm milk in a pan, and then you use that milk to make the sauce, and it just gives a different dimension. If you were making it into a parsley sauce, you could add a handful of fresh parsley, or you can use dried, and that's lovely over fish, salmon, fish fingers. You can add a bit of cheese as well, which is nice. And I also add a secret ingredient sometimes, and that's a capful of apple cider vinegar. Again, it just gives it a different dimension. So that's the end. I hope you enjoyed that and you now know how to make a white sauce. And let's just have a final look. I'm just gonna whisk it up because it's formed a slight skin, but that's fine, don't worry. So, don't know whether you can see that. Smooth, creamy, glossy white sauce, ready for use. Now, if I don't want to use that now, that will freeze. Let it cool, put it into a little pot, and it will freeze and keep for a couple of months. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye for now.